You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com. You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast on the We Are Libertarians Network. I'm Jeremiah Morrell, your host, and as always, we're joined by our co-host, Dakota Davis.
Hey, how's it going, Jeremiah?
Well, it was terrifying. I didn't have my little sheet of paper that tells me everything, but at this point, I've about got it memorized.
Go off your cuff.
Shooting from the hip. So our show is about our lives in rural Indiana. It's a show about folks who are involved in politics, and we promise that our episodes are going to be a fun and an easy listen. We interview people who are influencers, elected officials, political experts, and folks we just find interesting. In the rotating co-host seat over here today, we have the guy that tapped out at the last minute last week. It's Kade Koger.
Good evening.
How we doing, sir?
Pretty good.
You're healed up.
Yeah.
You got two eyes that are working.
Yep.
We gave Chase Payton last week about 90 minutes of time to get out here and cover you, and thank God your beautiful brown eyes are all right.
Yeah. Thankfully, he could stand in for me.
Yes.
There's the last minute I took a right hook from my toddler. Caught a fingernail in the eye. So.
You got to keep gloves on him, man. That's what I heard.
Yeah, it's a sucker punch. I'll get him back.
Yeah, you got 17 more years of abuse ahead of him. So now you're keeping track.
Yep.
All right. So in the other chair, featured guest, is it Kenon or Kenon?
Kenon. Yeah,
Kenon. I'm nowhere close. Kenon Gray in the green shirt, and you're running for county council,
District 1,
District 1,
across the street.
Yep. That's a very familiar district to me. I'm in your district. I might vote for you. You never know.
I doubt it. Since you're my opponent, I seriously doubt it. I'd be worried about you if you did.
There's a lot of things about me that nobody really understands.
That's probably something to be said for that.
I'm just saying it. You make a compelling case. I could vote for you. We don't know.
Well, I'll try.
I haven't voted in the dirty Republican primary in a long time, but it goes on your permanent record, and it's just
competition this year.
Yeah.
We do ours completely free of taxpayer money. We select our candidates, and it's not a burden on the taxpayers' pocketbooks as the Libertarian Party.
I've read that somewhere.
Yeah, we're not shameless self promotion, man. We do it all the time.
That's right.
That's what this is.
That's right. Yeah. So Kenon is
shameless self
has come in his leprechaun green. He's
Trojan green.
Trojan green.
His Trojan green. He has worked as you were the vice principal of the Newcastle High School.
Yeah, associate, but that's
vice.
It's mostly discipline, so vice would be the description.
Oh my gosh, was Vice Principals? Is it your favorite show? Was it on HBO?
I've seen it.
You guys didn't burn down any houses, did you?
Not in the 21 years.
That's a spoiler if you haven't watched the show. It was some tough stuff going on that thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's dressed in the green, his campaign colors. He's got the Newcastle Trojan green and white, and he has decorated our studio strongly in his colors.
Right.
You get the award for having the most swag to bring in. And you're
I've been
repping
watching your show. That was my goal.
You're repping last week's candidate, Ed Tarantino, on the button as well.
I did. I told Ed. I had dinner with him last night at the EDC dinner.
Yes, sir.
And I said, I'm going to try something new. I'm going to wear somebody else's button. He's a good guy.
The next thing I'm going to see is like the Chevrolet logo and 3M, and you can have Hendrick Motorsports on there.
NASCAR.
Mm-hmm. So we got we'll see what Mr. Bowman looks like next week when he comes on.
Yeah.
All right. So Dakota, we got some thank yous to make, man.
We have some thank yous from the Patreon account. Once again, if you haven't already, you can find us on Patreon under Boss Hog of Liberty. You'll see our little emblem pop up, and you get all kinds of free gear with your donations. And it's incredible to me still the amount of people that we have.
We're halfway to our studio goal.
Oh yeah,
we're over $220, $230 a month in pledged contributions.
Yeah, our goal is $500 a month so that we can get moved out of my spare bedroom and into a professional studio, and so that I don't have to have people walking in my house every week, then have to listen to my dogs bark at them whenever they ring the doorbell. But we have so many people. I think we have 14 people now.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's awesome. So we have Christy Avery and Brantley Spicer up at our top with the most monetary donations of those two. And then we have Mary Hershey and Rebecca Baker, Sarah Potter, Jason Roberts, Kirsten Kronk, Chad Malicote, Nancy Dietz, Jamie Jo Owens, Craig DaCosta, your parents, Joyce and Paul. My parents are still not on the list.
Another week goes by.
I even
no
harassed
Davises.
them. I harassed them this weekend.
Just keep
and
calling
they
them
didn't
out.
do it. Yeah, yeah. This is like the third week in a
We
row.
will shame you into giving us
Come
money.
on, catch up. And then Zachary Bertram, Corey Murphy, and Aaron Ewert.
There we go.
That's our list.
That's
Huge
awesome.
thank yous.
And we got a big contribution this week as well from Mary Logan, a one-time contribution because
Yep,
we
that's
spent
awesome.
some time over at the Henry County Memorial Park Board meeting. We'll talk about that in a minute, but we covered that, and she said thank you very much and shot us a PayPal donation, so that was awesome. Very exciting stuff. There's all kinds of merchandise announcements for us as well.
Yep.
We'll get into Eric. We'll talk about Eric the Turkey now because we a minute ago we went live as the Eric the Turkey account. Confession time. It was us. We were the voice, the writers, and the perpetrators of Eric the Turkey.
Really?
Yeah. It was us. We were the guys.
Wow.
We ran the Facebook page.
That's pretty clever stuff.
Yeah.
We had some fun with it.
Yeah.
We did have fun with it. I had
I could
a
tell.
blast.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was you guys.
We're comedy writers now.
It was busy. It
I
was
could tell
busy
from your
work.
show that you were, but I didn't know you were Eric the Turkey. I was,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We were us and
headline
Chris
news.
Spangle of the Bob and Tom Show. We were the voice of Eric the Turkey. So if you guys enjoyed that and had some fun with it, you were over there watching that. There's an official Eric the Turkey shirt that
There is.
that's being sold. That's going to go towards podcast. Because if you listen to that Memorial Park Board meeting on Monday, you know that we had some audio issues and we need a new microphone. So we're going to take whatever T-shirt sales go from that, and that's going to go into the microphone fund.
That is, yep. They're pretty cool T-shirts. A shout out to Ross Tickner for drawing up the picture of Eric the Turkey with the candles and stuff. We used his artwork on the T-shirts. It says "In loving memory of Freebird the Turkey, 2016 to 2018." I think they're $18.50, and we get about half of that as profit from.
If you are a Patreon subscriber, though, there's a special discount
Yes.
code for only the Patreon people. So
Yeah, and it takes it down to $12.
there you go. So if you join the Patreon, you can get your Eric the Turkey shirt at a discount.
That's right.
Basically takes all the money out of our pocket, but hey, you're a Patreon subscriber then, so we'll take it.
you're going to talk about the pink flamingo out there
Yeah.
by the cemetery
Yeah.
with the cross.
So
Did you guys do that too?
So on Friday night I said, if this town doesn't have a flower memorial out there by sundown, I don't want to be associated with it. It's ridiculous. And I was busy. The lovely Sarah Potter, my bride-to-be, and I went. We were meeting with Susan Bell, who's going to be the officiant. We were figuring out how the actual wedding was going to go in July when I get married. So I didn't have time. So I put it out to the world, and I said, if this doesn't happen, I'm going to be ashamed of y'all. And Saturday morning, we went by, and it turns out it was some girls from Spiceland. They erected a couple of little crosses out there with the red, white, and blue.
And then it's just snowballed
and
into
every
more
day
and more
a little
people
bit more
are
has
adding.
come out.
It's awesome.
Sarah had purchased some flowers. We laid some flowers out there, and I thought we were going to be the first ones. I really did, and I saw the crosses, and I was giddy. So that was where that picture came from. And then the next day, my dad loves flamingos, and I had a flamingo in my yard that he had left. So the flamingo made its way out there, and then somebody else put the little chicken light out there,
Yep.
and then the turkey feather.
My favorite is the stovetop.
And
the
I didn't have anything to do with that. That was
stuffing
genius.
That's out there is the greatest
that I
thing.
didn't see.
Yeah, I love that. That is whoever did that is a genius. You have my eternal gratitude for putting the stovetop stuffing out there.
So, and it was a fun thing for us to do. I know a lot of people really, really, really did enjoy the humor of it. There's a handful of people that think we're terrible people and we're profiting off of the death of a turkey. But when something like that happens in a community, it's a way for everybody to kind of come together and have a fun little thing to talk about. So we enjoyed it, and it's almost turkey season. So
I can't wait to be
you can get your
walking.
stickers and go get your turkey here.
Yeah, I can't wait to walk around Kroger and see somebody wearing an Eric the Turkey T-shirt.
Yeah.
That's gonna
See a
make
T-shirt in the
my
wild.
whole life. Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, so that's out there in the world, and then there's some more Boss Hog of Liberty merchandise. You put together a whole store.
We have a whole store at redbubble.com. You can search BHOL, and there's all kinds of merchandise. It's a lot better than what T-Chip did us and tried to shut down our page and all that stuff. But we have our own corner of redbubble.com, and it's full of merchandise. You can get everything there.
And
it's such a
pretty
wide
affordable
variety
too. It's not, they're not high priced.
Right, they're good prices, and the shipping's a good cost, and it's so much better. And the quality of the things, of the actual products, are just incredible. Like if you wanted a Boss Hog of Liberty duvet, you could get a duvet. That's the expanse
I should add one to the wedding registry.
Yeah,
I just came from Italy. Is that like a bidet?
No. This is you put this one on the bed, not in the bathroom.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm being domesticated. I'm not going to be a single guy anymore, so I have to learn about duvet covers
Duvets,
now. Yeah.
I guess that's right. It is a married guy term.
Yeah. I wouldn't have known that a year ago.
That's right.
So, all right. So then Monday, you and I, we hung out, and this is where I met Mr. Gray for the first time. We were out there covering the Memorial Park Board meeting.
Yep. We went in there full Boss Hog of Liberty style, set up a table.
We were in our suit, our official uniform with our Boss Hog polos.
Yep. We had there was one kid that came up to us, and he wanted his picture taken with us, and was doing 2 thumbs up, and we gave him the thumbs up back. It was awesome.
Local celebrity Dakota Davis.
Yep.
Signing autographs.
Well, I mean, it's because the table is what I think. We had that whole table set up there with all of our equipment and everything, and then it turns out that none of the extra mics that we brought worked.
Yeah, we're still semi-pro at this. We're efforting. We're making improvements, but you could hear it, and people actually got to see the park board meeting. So we'll ask Kenan. Is it Kenan? Help me out with
it's
this.
Kenan.
Kenan.
Yeah, like Ken.
Ken.
Yeah.
And probably A-N.
And yeah.
Phonetically, it's probably Ken A-N.
Kenan.
People have trouble with my name too, so don't feel bad.
Cade.
Yeah, we call him Jade.
I always get Katie.
Katie.
Yeah.
Chase.
So, or Chase. Yeah. So Kenan, what'd you think of this park board meeting? I assume that was the first one you've been to, or
No,
have you been to
it's
others? Second time.
I went to the first one. This was less heated than the first one.
The last
they had
one,
two
yeah,
officers, 2 sheriff's deputies at the first one, and they stood up and actually thought they were going to be involved. So this was fairly calm. People voiced their opinion. So the Doughboys, the issue. I think everyone, including me, is in favor of everything they're planning. You know, the museum and some of the other things they're planning for veterans. I think it's great. But a lot of people have come up to me and have expressed, veterans especially, the majority of the people have come up to me, have serious, genuine feelings about the Doughboy. And I told them I would side with them.
Yep.
My campaign manager said, don't be stupid. Don't take a stand on it because it's not a major issue. I'm just not that kind of person. Too many people came up to me with heartfelt feelings, and I said, I'm for everything that they're planning, but I think given the circumstances, the Doughboy ought to probably stay where it is, and I believe that.
Yeah, I said a couple weeks ago, I said this story may end up with, this is the story of how Henry County wound up with 2 Doughboys. You can't cut it in half and put it in both places, and we heard last night that they've raised like $68,000 in cash and in-kind contributions for it. There's a proposal Mark Schronauer shared around yesterday that looks like they could secure another one for about $20,000, and I think if they can raise it privately, and you had one Doughboy, the new Doughboy in front of the new monument site, and say, hey, this is what it looks like, and if you want to hike out to the original location, you can see it. I think that solves the accessibility issue. I think that'd be a cool plan.
I'd give to it.
Yeah, we'll see where it lands, but. Right now, things are under. I think they're definitely going to have the flagpole display, and there's going to be something there in front of the Smith Building. Just stay tuned to see what happens.
You've been saying that for quite some time, like since the beginning of this Doughboy controversy. This is going to be the story of how Newcastle ends up with 2 Doughboys. You've been saying that for a while.
I don't see another way.
You called it. Are you a psychic?
I might be. You can talk about that on your tinfoil time.
Yeah, maybe.
How does Jeremiah see the future?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that there had been 3, Medal of Honor winners from Henry County?
Yeah,
Very unusual.
3 separate Medal of Honor winners. Yeah, and
doing something with them, I think, would be...
Yeah, I think they're going to put up plaques on...
Really great.
On stones.
Yeah, you're going to have... It's going to be... the Doughboy is from World War I, and it honors the World War I soldiers, and obviously we're coming up on the 100-year anniversary of the end of the Great War. And then 2 years from now, we'll have the 100-year anniversary of Memorial Park's existence.
And I didn't know that he was actually throwing a grenade.
Yeah, he's holding a grenade.
People thought they were waving at them when they were urban and all that.
I always thought that too.
Yeah,
And
no,
they
he
said
is.
It was a grenade after coming out of the foxhole and
That
makes
is-
a way for the other soldiers. He was throwing
It's a
grenade.
really cool.
It
it's
is
a really
in anger.
cool statue.
It's
really
not
awesome piece of art.
a lot of artwork is somebody that's at peace or they're not fighting. He's got a, he is ready to kill. That's what it is. It's an engaged in battle.
Well, I think all the work they've done is really great. All the plans they talked about are really good plans. A lot of thoughts got into it. Kathy Hamilton gave an impassioned talk about the original intent of the doughboy. If anybody was persuade me to change my mind, it probably would be her. But probably 90% of the individuals, I know over 50 people have shared with me, and over 90% have been in favor of keeping it where it was. And out of respect for them, the majority of them being veterans, I side with them.
How do you see yourself as a council candidate having an impact on that?
Just standing up and giving my peace of mind. I mean, council obviously is financial. I said I would contribute to anything like the plan you have, a second doughboy, something for the Medal of Honor winners. Somebody maybe who's on this show suggested Steve Alford. I think it probably should stay military veterans, heroes of wars, but I know
that was old. That was Chase. He had a wide variety, but I think
Chase
we
had
settled
a wide variety.
Steve Alford was the most universally acceptable of the list he had.
I don't think that was the intent up there. So, war memorial.
Betsy Mills, a candidate for District 3, has been advocating strongly for Eric the Turkey. So nothing's off the table.
Well, until last Friday, that might have been a good idea.
Oh no.
Well, I'm sure the mayor could find the turkey, and we can have a bronze casting of the turkey made, and we can save this thing.
I think we should have caught the turkey and relocated it alive to Memorial Park.
Yep.
To Memorial Park.
The
That would have
DNR.
been
That's
perfect.
all they do is catch animals.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
I think they
contacted
started
DNR.
it. Yeah,
they said they'd come back because I think they had a family and a rooster or something over by the mausoleum.
Yeah,
and
like
they
four of
said
them.
They contacted them. They said they would come back as long as they had little ones.
I heard in the barbershop today. That's where all the real news comes from.
Yes.
In the barbershop, the
MVP.
the MVP barbershop. Of course, co-host Clay, who's on sabbatical. But I can confirm that we've reached an agreement for a show in May where we're going to have co-host Clay come back.
The long-awaited return.
Yes, I think
Councilman
May
Clay
24th.
Morgan.
Mark your calendar, 7 p.m. We'll have him back on, and we'll post politics,
Business, business.
We'll see what
That's
happens.
what we're going to be talking about.
Anyway, I heard that the DNR, the local guy was aware of it, and his superior said, "No, leave it alone." So that's barbershop talk. But if you can't believe the barbershop, what can you believe?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Facebook maybe.
Yeah,
I've never heard. I've
Facebook's the
never
next
heard a
best
piece
thing.
of fake news in the barbershop.
At least people have faces in the barbershop. You're talking face to face. On Facebook, you don't.
Yeah.
You're talking to emoticons.
Yeah, and you're a lot more brave when you're on Facebook too.
It's true.
At least here you've got video.
That's right.
You're kind of face to face.
If people don't know us by now, we're 53 episodes in. You can't make this junk up. You know the person, right?
Yeah.
So over the weekend, Friday night, I was driving home. Had a nice happy little cut up talking to the Judge Bell, getting ready to plan my wedding. I get home from Hagerstown, and all of a sudden, the United States is at war again. We've dropped bombs in Syria, and I was kind of triggered. I don't know where you're at in the in this story, or if you have an opinion.
I've read your editorial in the Courier today.
Yeah, so
I know you have an opinion.
I do. I get frustrated, Kenon, with people that aren't true to themselves. So when somebody agrees with the president because they're in their party, and then they disagree with the president because they're not in the party, I get very frustrated.
Kind of like Russia.
And yeah, exactly.
Or Comey.
Yeah.
I like him, I hate him, I like him, I hate him.
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to know, and we have a unique situation where the 6th District is open, congressional seat, and we've tried to bring candidates through this studio as they've been running for office. We still have an open invitation to Greg Pence to come by. Hopefully, if he calls between now and the primary day, Dakota and I will find 5 minutes to squeeze him in. I don't know how we're going to do it because we're going to have 3 shows next week, but we'll find a way if the Pence folks want to come on. But if not, if he gets through the primary, we'll invite him back to come between now and the general. But we've tried to have an open conversation with all of these folks. This is an interview, and this congressional seat has spurned the Vice President of the United States. Who also was the governor of this state. It gave us Luke Messer, who is running for U.S. Senate and he's 3 steps away from being the Speaker of the House. And he gave us David McIntosh, who's the chair of the Club for Growth. These are high level Republican candidates, people that have been very influential in the United States government. So our seat's a big deal, and it's an invitation, and they need to answer to us. So I have an op-ed that's in the Courier Times. It's in the Greensburg paper. I think it's going to be in the Shelby County paper and a number of other locations that basically says, how do you feel about this bombing in Syria? And we reached out to all of the campaigns, and we got responses from a number of them. So we'll go over those briefly, and we'll post them on the Boss Hog page in another note, so you can go back and read the full responses that we received from the campaigns. But we had a lot of response from the campaigns. So real briefly,
before you get into this,
yes, sir.
Before you get into Jonathan Lamb, he's going to be the first response that you read. I want to point out that on his, whenever he addressed and wrote back, he said, "Boss Hogs of Liberty."
He did. He wrote back to all of us, the Boss Hogs. We're co-equals.
Yes.
And Jonathan, he has no problem coming on this show.
No, he's been on. He's coming back on Thursday of next week. So next week we got Adam Bowman, Peg Steffendell, and Jonathan Lamb. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Once again, mark your calendars. Dakota and I are going to be punch drunk and tired, but we're having fun.
Did you get his book, Lambs?
I have not had his book yet. No,
he's sending it to everybody. I got it in the mail on Friday, I think.
It's Economics is Better Than Sex, or like sex.
It's like sex.
Yeah.
And it has a Marilyn Monroe picture with the dress coming up. Over
he talked a little bit about it.
I don't know if it was
over Marilyn Monroe.
It may not have been in print when he was here the last time, but I bet we'll see a copy of it next week.
I hope so.
Maybe a signed copy if we play our cards right.
Yeah.
So anyway, he wrote back in this morning, and the general gist is that he does support the president's decision to bomb, and he's a firm believer that Congress needs to provide approval for military action that constitutes war. The U.S. should not be entering into conflicts to avoid the need of congressional approval of military action. And he also went on to say that we should not be engaging in long-term military action without congressional approval. And he talked about the War Powers Act requiring congressional approval after 60 days of conflict. It's a singular action, so he didn't necessarily need it, but the U.S. needs to basically deal with it.
I've seen that a lot. I've seen that rebuttal a lot, kind of giving an excuse for the president's actions, the 60 days of conflict. How long have our troops been on the ground in Syria? And how long have our allies been on the ground in Syria? How long have we been in the Middle East? It's been a lot longer than 60 days.
Yeah, I mean, the 9/11, the authorization that came from this was that kind of opened up a lot of what the U.S. government's done under the last 3 presidents was done 17 years ago. So that was my challenge, is that Congress needs to debate and take back some of this authority. Tom Furkinoff, who was running in the Republican primary, dropped out, and he's seeking the Libertarian nomination. He said he didn't have the information, basically, or he's not privy to the information with regard to the intelligence that was here. But he says he sees time and time again the hypocrisy out of the elected officials from the 2 parties that dominate the political landscape, the Republicans and Democrats. As Sam Goldstein calls them, the old parties. If we don't start sending more representatives to Washington who will put the country ahead of party, this power imbalance will only become more dangerous. The situation in Syria has gone on long enough, and that Congress should have acted and either authorized the president to use military force or restricted it, which is a very valid point, because President Obama was dropping bombs over there 2 years ago, and there was a whole group of folks that were against Syria, and that was one of the things I talked about in the letter. There were very similar letters that were signed by, I don't have the copy in front of me now, I think 88 members this time and about 140 members of Congress the last time. And unfortunately, only about 15 or 20 of them were the same people. And there's not been that much turnover in the Congress. Mm-hmm. And that's the people that politically are more or less, you'll call them hypocrites. If you signed it the last time and you believe the same way, then you should have signed it this time as well.
Yep. Yeah.
And if you signed it conveniently this time, but you didn't last time, it was because your party was in power. And that's pretty shameful, too.
Congress hasn't declared war since the 40s.
1941 is the last time we declared war.
I was going to say World War II.
Yeah.
So you have Vietnam, you have Korea, you have all these conflicts, and they're all conflicts.
Right.
And when you have 55,000 deaths in Vietnam, that's more than a conflict.
Yeah.
We've created, we have the Vietnam War Memorial, but it's conflict. Yeah. Right. It's sad. It's ridiculous. And I'm not a dove. I'm fully in favor of fighting back when it's time and it's appropriate and the United States is threatened. But we got to be honest with ourselves, and we need to declare the wars and debate it, and then go in and accomplish the task. But 17 years in the Middle East, nonstop. You've got kids that you literally have kids that are going to be fighting in their dad's war, and it doesn't wash.
Yep.
For me,
be on patrol in the same Middle Eastern encampments that their fathers were on whenever they were enlisted.
Mm-hmm. So Jim Pruitt, he's seeking the Democrat nomination. We have not had Jim on, and that's our apology. We've not been able to make that happen. He responded and said yes, he would have signed the letter that we talked about, which is gets a gold star from me. He would have signed the letter, and it doesn't matter which president's in political party of the whichever. I'll read it himself. I'm not trying to summarize it. I would have signed the letter, and it does not matter who the president nor the political party of the president. Whether or not the military strikes against Syria was good or bad or necessary action does not matter. The president should have gone to Congress and obtained congressional authority to launch such a military action, which is exactly correct. That's at least correct to me. I will endorse that statement. That's exactly where I'm at. Lane Siekman, who has been on here, Democrat, running from Rising Sun. He referenced the authorization of military forces from 1971 or from 2001, and he said it authorized the use of the United States armed forces against those responsible for the attacks on September 11th, 2001, and any associated forces. That being said, the U.S. has limited national interest at stake in Syria, and the AUMF does not authorize punitive actions for humanitarian purposes. We need a comprehensive debate in Congress on military strategy, including Syria. I responded back to him and said 9/11 is not an unlimited runway for any military action. Congress has given away way too much authority, and Lane completely agreed. So that's his. And then later this evening, we got a response from Jeanne Lake from Muncie, and she said that the last time
she's running as a Democrat.
She's running as a Democrat from Delaware County. The last time our county actually declared war on a country was December 1941 after Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. Wasn't the Germans. It was
Japan.
Yeah.
Animal House will tell you differently. At that time, the Senate approved a full military attack of war 82-0. Following that action, the United States has found itself, in my opinion, way too involved in foreign conflicts, from Korea to Vietnam to Iraq and more. While our help and aid is vital at times, I believe that we seem to be almost trigger-happy when it comes to getting involved, as our presidents seem to consider themselves to be the police in chief of the world. I feel that when atrocities like Bosnia or Syria do come up, we obviously have compassion and want to help. Doing so is fine, but only at the approval of Congress and as the law allows. So I have not heard from Representative Pence, or not Representative Pence.
No, not yet.
Businessman Pence on where he's at. The last I saw, his campaign page says he's a Marine, but I haven't seen anything on foreign policy, so I don't know the answer to that one.
Running on the
and then the three candidates for Senate on the Republican side all supported the president. So
yeah, if you've been paying attention to the Senate race, it's pretty much which one of us is the most in line with the president. It's been that way the entire time. It's ridiculous because it started out and Mike Braun was running as an outsider candidate, and then he started doing a little bit less and less, performing less in the polls, and now he's just gone the exact same route. I hate that.
Welcome to big time politics.
Yeah,
I like them all because they graduated from my alma mater.
Are they all Wabash guys?
They're all Wabash. I should be running for Senate. I mean, what am I doing
here? County.
Well, I heard there's an independent running now.
Degree.
Mark Rutherford is here. He's the libertarian seeking the Secretary of State nomination, and he's a Wabash graduate. Yeah,
they put out some good.
There's a lot of
of Wabash
guys.
It is a good place.
It's a boys' college, so you'll have to stay focused, right?
Yeah. Well, they get the girls down at DePaul. It's only a 22.5 mile.
Is that what you had to do?
Yeah.
Let's dig into this.
22.5.
It sounds like you know the exact location pretty well.
It's every Wabash guy
round trip. It's 45 miles.
Knows how much gas it takes to get to DePaul.
Meet them halfway.
So speaking about Wabash College, you graduated from there in 1976.
Yes,
and you were a biology major.
I was. Yes, thinking pre-med at the time. Didn't quite work out.
So tell
that
me,
way.
Dr. Gray, how are things going?
I almost got my doctorate, all but dissertation.
Yeah.
Well, I'm here. I'm not running for Senate. Next question. How are things going?
Well,
Well, it can't be that bad. You're retired now, so
I
we're
am
all sitting here in
retiring.
jealousy.
Yeah, I am retiring. You'll be there someday. I put in my time.
Yeah, I would say so. Looking at your career path right here on the show notes, I would say you put in your time. But after you left Wabash, you went to Purdue University and you changed, and it went to education major
I did.
and then communications minor.
Yes.
And you actually used that communications minor to use
I
12
did.
years in radio.
Yes, I started at Wabash College. They had a radio station that really had a commercial license, one of the very few educational.
How dare they make profits in
I
radio?
know. I helped pay my way through college. I sold the McDonald's in Crawfordsville I had on our station. The other station in town that's the big station.
Do you remember
they hated me because McDonald's spent all their money through this little college radio station.
Do you remember the ad script?
No, I don't, but it was WNDY, which when they went under or they sold out.
NDY was the Channel 23 Indie TV.
It still is.
Yeah.
Now, about 3 years after I left, they decided they didn't want to stay in the radio business, or it's too expensive, or they needed to upgrade. It was not a stereo FM; it was just a mono, and they sold out. And then somebody bought their call letters. I figured it'd be somebody in Chicago or Indy. You know, the Windy City would be perfect, and people would pay for a good call letters.
Yeah,
but instead it was Indy. On the
The Holman
side.
family had it for a while. In the 90s, the Holman George family had it, and it had all the IndyCar practice. Because we're a racing show, Dakota. You know that. We've established that a number of times.
Yeah.
We're a racing show.
A number of times we had Robin Miller on.
I know.
Yeah. So what made you decide to change your major from, your biology, thinking pre-med, and then all of a sudden you go to education? What was your thought process?
I don't even
there?
remember the evolution. It was certain classes, and I was married at that time. We were at Purdue. We stayed in married student housing. Took some classes that were
how nice how nice was the married student housing then? I remember in the 90s people said it was terrible.
It wasn't great. It was out on Airport Road.
Yeah.
And it wasn't bad. Very multicultural. Our next door neighbors spoke Portuguese. They were from Brazil. So it was very, very interesting. Learned a lot. Worked my way through college. Wife had jobs. She ended up getting her master's while at Purdue. I finished my master's at Purdue. Did work at the oldest radio station in Indiana, which is WBAA. It's the Purdue station. It was the first station that ever went on in Indiana. And then first job was teaching over at Northeastern Wayne. Then I worked at WRIA.
Was the football team any good there when you were there? Because I know Northeastern's had some terrible football teams over the years.
They had the longest losing streak. Now, they're much better after I left. But one of my jobs was to videotape them. And it was a sad period. They went years without winning a foot, but they much better. About 5 years later, they got rebuilt.
Yeah, that's how
new coach, and it started being some W's.
Whenever I was in middle school and high school, that's how Tri-High was. We didn't win a single game the entire time that I was in middle school and high school until the very last game my senior year of high school. Mm-hmm. And you would have thought that we had won the state championships with how much we celebrated in there. It was we had the football players walked around walked around the square in the high school, and we were all cheering and clapping.
Who was your coach?
Brian Peggs at that time. Yeah.
And he ended up being pretty successful. Brian was there when I was assistant principal. That was my first administrative job. Was 90 to 95 was at South Henry.
Okay.
And they had a pretty good football team then. They won more games than they'd lost. Seems like most of them,
It ended up changing.
So in your time, North Dakota, you won one football game?
One football game, correct, yeah.
You went out a winner.
It wasn't me.
You weren't on the team
No, I wasn't
anymore.
on the team. I quit after my sophomore year.
Noted quitter, Dakota Davis. Right there.
I'm tired of losing, man.
Maybe it was Denny Geip that had the winning.
Dennis Geip.
Geip. Yeah, then Brian Peggs took over about the time I left.
Okay.
We might have had overlap. When were you there?
I graduated in 2014.
Oh, no, we weren't.
This is the
You were
part that
much younger.
this is the part that's terrible. Dakota, remind me again that you were born January 1st, 1996.
Correct.
Jeez.
Horrible. I was born in the 80s at least. I'm 13 years older than Dakota, and it's painful to me.
We're not talking age. Just pretend I'm a female host. You just
It's impolite to remind you that he's nearly 78 years old.
Not quite.
Kenon
Gray, will he make it 4 years? Let's find out together.
I might look like it after 21 years of Vice, but I'm not.
21 years of Vice. Yes, that was great.
What did you teach at Northeastern?
My license, I did a little bit of everything. I was their drama sponsor, school library, audio, visual. I did microcomputers, came in the mid-'80s, and we started setting up microcomputer labs, and that's and worked the radio station down in Richmond.
You taught Oregon Trail.
Yeah, Oregon Trail. And it was the early days, the Apple II computer. We were the first probably networked Apple, which was slower than 10 times slower than these.
Crap out of
unbelievable. Put in a little 5 1/4 floppy disk and wait 10 minutes for it to load up. It was all black and white. But that was all they had back then. So then I kind of got my job in up at Anderson University because it was also audio visual and microcomputer support for the whole campus. We supported the education department.
Yeah, you were at Anderson University. You were the assistant director of IMC, which I ended up getting wrong the first time.
Right, it's the Instructional Materials Center, which is the top floor of the Decker Hall, which is the administration building. We actually back then we had about 10 TVs on carts, and we rolled them all over campus on a cart.
Through the snow in January.
Literally through the snow in January.
It was good exercise.
And we finally, before I left, had satellite locations in the music wing or the science hall and the fine arts hall. And so we had storage compartments that we kept them so we didn't have to actually go from our center across, a quarter of a mile to these. So we got it. And the first microcomputer labs went on under my tutelage.
Were you there with the first time the Colts camp was there? Were you around on campus when the Colts camp there?
That occurred later, but about halfway through they changed it from Anderson College to Anderson University when I was there.
Okay.
Those are the Ravens.
86 to 90. So you were there for 4 years?
Yeah. I was there from 4 years. They had probably a strong one was baseball. They had a real strong baseball team. I'm trying to think of Don. He was well noted
Don Knotts. Everybody knows Don Knotts.
Yeah, it sounds good. I might think of it a little bit. I remember Don and good guys, good place. Good. It's a nice Christian school.
I had a buddy that played football there 1 year, so we hung out. And once again, bad luck to my friends because I don't think Anderson won a single football game that year when I followed Joe Robinson around. But we had some fun. Going up there and seeing the campus and learning. Mm-hmm. Of course, once the Colts had their training camp there, all of a sudden they had a brilliant football field, and it was a nice spot.
Yeah,
Schumann Stadium, I think it. No, it's Muncie Schumann Stadium. It's I don't remember the stadium name now. I'm sure it's a major donor, but it's nice.
So after you left Anderson University, then came your time as in the Vice, as we've been calling it, as an assistant principal.
Yeah, I finished my EDS, which was an educational specialist. It's midway between master's and doctorate at Ball State.
Okay,
and my major was school superintendency with a minor in curriculum. And so I put feelers out to become an administrator and had several offers, but they just didn't seem right around different parts of the state. So I turned actually a couple years down. So it's might have left Anderson a couple years earlier if I'd taken some of those jobs up in extreme northern Indiana, north of Fort Wayne.
Were you always in Henry County, living here for these, or did you kind of move around with the districts?
Well, for all the administration, I lived in Henry County. So for 32 years, I've lived in Henry County. So I know some of the candidates say I've lived all my life in Henry County. Well, I've lived 32 years of my adult life in Henry County.
So you're like me. You're new here. I've only been here for 20-something.
Yeah. And for some reason, I guess living here all your life since birth is supposed to be something special, that above and beyond somebody who's lived here only 32 years.
I think we should all, you and I are running the same race. I think we should all release our long-form birth certificates to show where we're from.
Yes, racial medal. I have here my 2005 Donald Trump tax.
I'm calling for it now. I want long-form birth certificates from every candidate running in the first district race by noon tomorrow.
We have two outsiders. I'm not sure that I can publicly endorse either one of you.
You can't vote for us anyway. You have to live.
Yeah, that's right. You have to move across the street.
I can go stay in Zach's
Literally.
camper.
So this
Literally across the street is
Yeah.
District 1 where you could vote for one, but not here.
Residency
decision
is a
will be
state-
up to me then.
Unless your name is Charlie White, yet residency is a state of mind. Yeah, Cade's a voter in the district. He
Yep.
lives out in the Westwood area.
Oh, man, tough decision.
I think we're actually kind of neighbors.
Really?
I live right around the corner, I think.
Okay.
You live out on 50?
50 North.
Yeah, I live just back on 75 West. Well, my farm is on 75
Okay.
West. I live
Yeah.
just south of Westwood School on Greensboro Pike.
Okay. Yeah, you're close.
But yep.
We recycle out there at Westwood.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot of recycling.
You're very
I'm
green,
all
huh?
for green,
Yeah,
except for one thing.
You're all about green.
I'm green too,
I'm
as long as it's not
100%
at the.
green except for one thing.
I'm green except for when.
Except for one thing, I am 100% for renewables.
Uh-oh.
And I won't tell you what it is.
Oh, I think we know here. We'll get into it in a minute. There's going to be plenty of time. Plenty of time.
I'm
to talk
pro
about
farmers.
that. Are you?
I grew up on a farm. We didn't go that far back. I grew up on a little farm, and my dad was an organic farmer. He was just 50 years ahead of his time.
You granola.
Oh, my gosh.
He would have been rich today, but everybody else made fun of him. They were pouring chemicals on. He used chicken manure. It was dried chicken manure. They brought it up from Georgia. 3 farmers in Montgomery County used it.
He wasn't smart enough to find chickens that lived here.
No. I mean, we're talking tons of dried chicken manure in 50-pound bags.
Oh, man.
So there's not enough chickens in Montgomery County to have done 3 farms worth. But no, I really believe if he were an organic farmer in 2018, he would make a living on just the 200 acres they had over there. He wouldn't have to have 1,000 acres.
Mm-hmm.
So you spent all this time as an administrator, and you finished up your career in Newcastle. Or are you finishing your career? You're in your final year now?
Right, I
You
went
got
from
like
Tri-
senioritis now.
Yeah, pretty much. I went from Tri to 3 years at Union as their principal. Very small school. I just read that they're going to continue one more year. They're very small up in Randolph County. Well, also Stony Creek Township goes into Union.
Yeah, we've heard Union was potentially going to merge with another school corporation, or something was going to happen. I don't know. I don't know where that story's at. If they're going to merge with Blue River, I know they've lost a lot of kids to Muncie South.
Yeah, they're very small. It's a nice school, but it's hard to keep the offerings and the curriculum there. It's just hard to operate financially with that few students because it's all contingent upon enrollment. Every school is contingent upon enrollment because that's where the money comes from, so much per student. So they have to be struggling. But it's a good school. I was there 3 years, and then the last 21 years I've been associate principal at Tri. We have 3 administrators, and I'm kind of second in command.
So
There
do
you
you
go.
have a list of students that you liked and didn't like that you can share with us? People that have moved on to big things that you said this kid's never going to be a damn thing in this world.
Like
But
Kade? You mean?
yeah. But now they're successful, and you're like, well, I called that one wrong.
Lots. Yeah, we won't mention names. But I'll have to say one of the things that keeps me going is success stories. I mean, they come back on occasion. I left the I went to Ace Hardware before coming here for a magnet that I needed for something, and 3 of our kids were going into the store next to it, and Mr. Gray, how you doing? So it's we have good students. Yeah, I think we have as good a students as anyone. I know they get a bad rap, teenagers do, but we have good students. I just 85% of our discipline comes from 15% of the students that I see fairly often. So they're the ones that spend most of my time with at 15%. 85% of our students, I'd compare them, put them up against any students, any school in the state.
Well, very good.
What about Tanner Purdue?
Tanner's been
Not
a
a real
guest on here.
Not a real familiar. If they're not a familiar name to me, that is really good in my area.
If
And
you
that's
stay
not
off
a
the
familiar
radar,
name.
Tanner, man,
Now,
Oh,
Kade on
there
the
you
other
go.
no,
I'm surprised. Yeah.
I knew Kade, but it was positive.
That's funny.
All right. So let's talk politics a little
I
bit.
figured we'd get
Time
to
to get
Yeah.
into the hard questions.
Sure.
Hard hitting questions.
The gotcha
yeah.
questions. We've put about a
Why-
75% on that sheet.
Why did you run over the turkey with your car? Let's start with that.
It was an accident. I like that, Eric, as well as anybody. I told you I put a post up and had
You did.
Leonard Skinner in the background of it, Freebird.
That's awesome.
It just really moved me.
It's a sad week for our community.
It was.
I know Barbara Bush died, and that's why they lowered the flags to half staff.
Yeah.
But I can't believe the mayor didn't call them to go to half staff around here, or the county commissioners.
Yeah.
I know Kim Cronk's watching right now. Why didn't Kim ask for the flags to go half staff at county buildings?
I listened to her speak one of these business seminars that came in. I think at the time it was Market Square, so it was a few years back, 15 years back. And
Market Square was an arena in Indianapolis before you were born.
Probably before you were born. They demolished
I was
it a long
wondering.
time ago.
I think it came down in '98.
But it was one of those Zig Ziglar type
Yes, sir.
things, business, and she was one of the speakers. I don't remember General Schwarzkopf was, and probably what football player, but she put on a good talk back then. So I had to respect her. She was very pro family. I mean, her family was everything to her. So it's a sad day.
Oh, of course.
Barbara died.
Yeah, that was a big story that we came out last night. I think most first ladies that they're all universally loved, but she was very important to a lot of people, and she was excellent. Obviously, the wife of a president, father of a president, or father of a president. Man, that would be progressive. Mother of another president and a governor as well. Just crazy.
They said that's happened
Obviously,
twice in American history.
Yeah.
The situation over two presidents.
Obviously, she did something right.
She raised them all right. So let's talk about local government a little bit.
Okay, sure.
Yep.
So what motivated you, first of all? Just this is the first time you've run for office in Henry County, at least in my knowledge. I've been paying attention to stuff for a while.
Yeah, it is. Going to retire. I wanted to do something for the community. I wanted to have something to do. Everyone said they retired, you better have something to do other than just hobbies. But I've got plenty to do around the house, but I wanted to do something to contribute back. I became interested in local politics because of the wind turbines. I saw a map of leases that went across from our house and saw one was going to go up. Honestly, a year and a half ago, I thought they were good. I looked at them driving up to Chicago, saw them over in Randolph County, saw them in Tipton County, Benton County, and I just kind of looked at them as modern marvels. I thought, wow, those are kind of neat. They're green. They're going to save the planet, and they're going to help with energy, and they're really efficient. And I said, well, one's going across the road from me. I better read up on it. So I did a year of reading, and I just came away with a different opinion entirely because of health effects, property values, not only human health effects, but on aviary, birds, livestock, and those kinds of situations. Shadow flicker, mostly hearing, inner ear kinds of issues, people not being able to sleep. That actually is research on heart muscle and those kind of things. Tinnitus. My wife already has tinnitus. She has a constant ringing of the ears. And about 30% of the population, if they don't have it, will develop that condition if they're within, half mile to a mile of a wind turbine or two. So I have no doubt that it would be exacerbated if one goes 1,500, 1,600 feet across the road from us.
So it's a personal motivation for you, where it's going to be in your backyard.
It's personal. We saved up our entire life. See, we grew up on a farm. Love country living, both of us. She grew sheep and showed them at 4-H. I was 4-H growing up in rural Fountain County. We lived, actually, our little farm was county line. Part of it was on Fountain County. Part of it was in Montgomery County. Last year, my dad was ill, and my older brother and me, we put out the whole farm. I had to take off school. I was 17, and he was in college at Purdue, and he was too sick, so we put out the whole farm that year as far as soybeans and corn. Had a pretty good yield, so I think we put in the right planter plates, so we weren't sure between the soybean plates and the corn. I said, this looks good. It looks like it's a little bit of pinkish on it, so I think it's corn. So we lucked out and had a yield. So we always wanted to get back on the farm. We had livestock. We had pigs. We had one of the first automatic milking dairy operations in west central Indiana. Then the bottom went out of milk, and we had to get out that with the beef cattle. And anyway, we always wanted to go back. We lived in married student housing. We lived in Richmond. And we wanted to get back to, and we lived in Newcastle over in the Sunnyside area for about, 20 years. So the last 12 years, we lived out north of the radio station on 50 North.
Oh, okay.
So it was personal. I mean, it really was. I was neutral or thought they were a good thing until I did a lot of research, bought books. This is an ecologist from Great Britain, and Great Britain has had wind turbines for 2 or 3 decades before America. This is a 2017 book that goes into the fact that they wouldn't exist if it weren't for federal tax subsidies and production tax credits that they would probably all go out of business within a month. So they're subsidized by the federal government. I would think as libertarians that might be something that would bother you, but it kind of bothers me. I mean, farms started getting federal subsidies about the time we had to sell because, like I said, Dad was an organic farmer. We didn't have enough money to buy more acreage. So we had to end up selling the farm, which is unfortunate. We always wanted to get back to a small out in the country. So we finally got there.
You answered two questions. We have a bullet point down here on industrial wind turbines, and the first question was, would you support tax abatements? Because that would be your role as a county councilor. Obviously not, is what I'm getting from that.
I wouldn't, because they'll go in even without the abatements. I 100% believe that right now with the federal government subsidies and the production tax credits, they would make enough profit if the commissioners agree to a setback that I last heard was between 1,500, 1,600 feet. They had figured out they'll make enough profits and be able to put up enough wind turbines to still go ahead without the abatement.
That was the third question on industrial wind turbines. You do believe that they will still go in even if the abatements are down?
Yeah, so I really do. If the setbacks are what I believe that they're going to be, and you see, I just got into this research a year ago. There's been people fighting this for two plus years, and I understand farmers needing the money. I understand the county needing money because I think we're millions of dollars in the red from what I hear, and something's got to be done about that. It's not going to happen overnight, but since they put the tax caps on the property taxes, they have given avenues for the local income tax on the Lloyd and Lit and those kind of things. And this last time, I just visited the county jail today, and I wouldn't want I'm going to say this, I wouldn't want my dog staying there. It's deplorable. It's not and they've improved it from what I hear. They've gone in and painted it, but it's not habitable. It's inhumane. Yeah. Something's got to be done. If persons against doing something with our Henry County Jail after visiting it and going into these cells, and I was taken into the inner parts of the cells, with mattresses on the floor because it's overcrowded. There's something wrong with them if they're not in favor of doing something with our county jail. So you wouldn't want a human being in there. You wouldn't want any of your relatives ever to be put in that jail, even if they deserve to be jailed. You wouldn't want them in our Henry County Jail. I don't think. Yeah,
that's a message we've heard from every candidate that's come through, that there are jails an embarrassment, and
it is.
I guess the question I have, talk about the wind topic you're on. We opened with, if you're no vote on the abatements, what else can you do from the county council to be an opponent to that or an opposition? The county council has one seat on the planning commission. That you don't have a lot of influence there. No. So what motivates you to say, "Hey, I want to run for county council"? That's the way that I can be a part of this process, because that's correct. That seems to be. I know we asked you earlier, when we were setting this up, that transparency is your number one issue, and we'll talk about that. But this is obviously a very big part of your campaign. Mm-hmm. So what motivates you to run for county council? How does this get you to where you want to be?
Well, I think that you have to know something about finances. You have to, scrutinize and prioritize. You have to look at what's gone on the last 5-6 years to get us in this position, and figure out a way, working with people that maybe are more knowledgeable or have more experience, to what are the avenues to get us out of this. And like I said, it's not going to be overnight. If we're, let's say, $20 million in the red, we didn't get there overnight. I think it started probably when Chrysler started going out, and you started seeing a downturn in monies coming in, and you had Modern Fold and Metaldyne and Dana, and we were so dependent on manufacturing. We need to get more industry in. We need to get more high quality jobs in. I don't know if you were at that. I didn't see you at the EDC meeting, but they brought a person in that was oversight development at an international level in to speak last night at First Baptist. And he went through what manufacturers basically are looking for. And they lured micronutrients out there, and he went through what it took. It started out with like 50 sites around the country, and it went down to 10, and then 4, and then 2, one in Kentucky and Newcastle. And he went through the way they came here, and some of it had to do with the quality job force, transportation. The EDC committee was more impressive to them, and how they sold the community. But Ed Tarantino asked the guy afterwards, after broke up, and some people went up and talked to this Mark Williams, who actually is CEO of this very large company in Columbia, South Carolina, about industrial wind turbines, because he's passionate about that also. And what's your feeling about that? He said, well, I wouldn't want to live next to one. He probed a little bit more, and he said, but good, bad, why? And he said, I'll be honest with you. They started out when there was a projection that energy consumption would continue to increase like it had in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And he said the last 5 or 6 years, it's gone flat. Energy consumption has not gone up. And most of the wind turbines and most of these wind farms sit idle. There's not the demand for them. And the other thing about the wind turbines, they're intermittent. The wind doesn't always blow. And you can't store energy. It's provided and it's used simultaneously. It's not like water or hydroelectric. You can turn on the tap.
It's very difficult to regulate it.
Right.
So that's we can store it, but it is very, very expensive to store it.
Right.
And this is what I do. This is working in the electrical industry is my job.
But if the wind doesn't blow, you have to have the coal, and you have to have the gas, and you have to have the hydroelectrics have to back it up. So it's very inefficient in the net system of electricity being provided down the grid. You have to have a backup. So when people say it's green energy because it's saving net either fossil fuels, that's a misnomer. Plus, it takes tons of coke to make steel, because there's so many tons of iron that goes into the tower, maybe not the blades, but the tower, and then the cell and all those kinds of things, and the generator that's inside of it. Not to mention the concrete that's made, because the concrete basis, it goes like 15, 20 feet into the ground. And when it decommissions it, all they have to do is take off the top 8 feet. Mm-hmm. So the rest of that concrete stays in the ground forever. And a lot of these companies go bankrupt. So they might have a nice decommissioning, but if they go bankrupt, if you go out in California, you'll see tens of thousands of these things north of L.A., and maybe 10% of them are operating. They're just wind turbine graveyards.
The important thing, if a commissioner enters into an agreement where one comes in, I think the important thing is to have strong bonds in place where you've prepaid the decommissioning. You've got a bonding company that's going to carry it, and you need to make sure that you're going to be whole, so that if you do have a project that fails, and whether it's the same thing we do with highway projects now, when we build a $100 million highway project, typically there's a bond in place for that value. The state of Indiana got some egg on their face when they tried to build I-69, and they didn't require a full 100% bond, and the state wound up having to get in their pocket because it didn't work out. But generally, if government is doing their job with those, they've got bonds in place that are going to cover the full decommissioning.
Well, hopefully. Yeah. I mean, hopefully that's the case. I can't say. I've read some of these agreements. I've read some of these actual lease agreements that farmers have signed, and they concern me. I mean, I'm not supposed to get a hold of it, but I got a hold of one. I mean, they're very secretive. These people that sign good neighbor agreements, very secretive. You can't say anything negative. You don't have any control over your property. They can put these things anywhere on their property they want, as long as it's distance-wise from whatever the commissioners come up with as far as a setback. It could be on the most prime land of your property that you have. It could be where you want to graze the cattle. I know there are
on the farm, on the leased ground.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
The good neighbor, obviously, you have to agree for them to be on there, but they're paying, in theory, they're paying you to be a good neighbor so that you don't complain. So you're going to get some sort of a...
Or you can't say anything.
Right.
I mean, once you sign that thing, I believe it's a gag order. But really cannot say anything.
It's voluntary, right? You're in a voluntary transaction at that point.
Yeah. You better have a good lawyer before you sign any of those.
Yeah. As a libertarian, the position I've always taken on them is they're subsidized at every level. The government says you have to have a certain amount of wind in the grid, or wind or solar. Or
well,
whatever
that's
it
up
is.
to the states. And Indiana's, it's optional. It's a goal. There's about 25 states that it's 20% or more, and in the West Coast it's 29% in California, and it's 30% in New York.
I think Hawaii is close to 30%.
Yeah, and they have the highest utility or electric rates in the country because of those requirements.
We have a regional grid, so the power you generate at the Duke Energy Station over in Kade may not go into what gets used in Newcastle. It may end up going into Ohio or Michigan or somewhere else. Same thing here. That the goals, this power that could theoretically be generated could end up going to Michigan or some other location.
No doubt.
So that's it's subsidized at that level, and then we do this abatement game where the county tries to attract somebody that's going to make a generator, the transmission, or the gearbox. Muncie had the Berneve project that failed. But Delaware County gave some significant discounts to that. I know there was talk that the old, before Crown came in, there was talk of a wind processing a wind input facility being put there at that location that never did materialize. And then the counties obviously do these abatements as well for the actual construction. So they're subsidized at every level. And on that's where I'm like, let's not do that. If it doesn't stand economically, then I'm not interested in it.
And
it gets propped up.
Well, even William Buffett said in front of Congress he was trying to sell wind. And, of course, anything he's trying to sell, it's going to be benefit for whatever, Berkshire Hathaway, whatever his company is.
Yeah, Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah,
Berkshire
something
Hathaway.
like that.
Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah, but he said it. Yeah, Berkshire Hathaway. And he said in front of Congress that he said wind makes 0 cents aside from the abatements and the subsidies. He said no one would get into the wind industry. So he's in the wind industry solely because of what the federal government is doing to basically pump it up and keep it alive. And I'm for green energy. I am not for wind because I don't think it's green energy in any way, shape, or form. And the making of what it takes, coal to make the steel, the fact that we're in a process that we're not needing the energy. It's not saying we're never going to need the energy, but the environment is so much cleaner than it was when I was growing up, 40 years before you were born.
The river in Cleveland's not burning anymore.
No,
right?
no. I remember Lake Erie, no swimming, no fishing. I remember an article in Life magazine. That was way before your time, too.
Printed magazines. They used to take the internet and put it in a book and then mail it to you.
Yeah, way before the internet. Saying if we stopped all pollution going into Lake Erie, it'd be 100 years before it would get back to being able to swim in it and fish in it. They did a really good job. The EPA or the cities, or the states, Ohio.
It's already been 100 years?
No, it started. They started swimming within 20 years, and there's commercial fishing going on. Nature has a way of cleaning itself up way faster. If human beings would get out of the way and quit polluting and putting stuff in that shouldn't be put in. It goes back to Rachel Carson and DDT and all that stuff. We've done some nasty things in the past, but we're so much cleaner than what even coal plants with the scrubbers. I remember just
seeing a coal plant and
unbelievable black stuff billowing out of all sorts of plants, not just coal. So I just remember a time where it was a lot dirtier in this country, and I think the whole Industrial Revolution was much dirtier growing up with all the factories billowing out stuff and coal mines. I mean, there was no protection. That's why the union started on the UAW. There was no protection, very little safety, very little, very low pavement, and those kind of things. I'm off topic, but it does relate to green versus
No, you're fine. We go off topic all the time.
So I did notice that in the past.
We've talked about the wind issue here, but beyond the abatement side, it's basically you're saying it's a soapbox for you as a council candidate or as a councilman.
Yeah,
you can speak on it to be a county official, but
it's commissioners.
Yeah,
it's really the commissioners.
So are you running for county commissioner in 2 years?
Not that I have any plans of it. But let's one heard all the time. You're my opponent, and Adam's my opponent, and Pat French might be my opponent in November, depending on how May goes. We'll see.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know.
I always, I think I'm a qualified candidate, and I'm running for a reason, but everybody has to interview for their job.
Sure.
4 years ago when I ran for this seat, I was the only guy. I was the only guy. If I hadn't run, Dick would have been reelected and didn't have to do anything. I outspent him $50 to zero, and he still kicked my ass. But it is what it is.
He told a friend of mine that if he would quit running if he ever had to spend any money for a campaign. I said, that must be nice.
Yeah,
I'm not in that position.
The campaign finance forms are due here on Friday. So
I thought they was 14th. I thought they were due last Saturday.
I think it's the end of the reporting period. But you got till Friday to get
it. Schedule.
Yeah,
mine's
in.
There you go. How'd you do? How much did you raise? How much you spend? Let's go.
Not a whole lot. I probably you had Butch Baker on here.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, and he said his first run, because he had a lot of competition, first time for sheriff, he put $10,000 in. I'm about 120 today. I'm on a shoestring budget, let me tell you.
That's the way it goes. Coming from a libertarian campaign, we ran a governor's race on about $25,000, so I understand how it goes.
That's unheard of.
Yeah, you got to do what you can with what you got. So, transparency in local government was your number one issue. When we said, "Hey, what's the thing?" What's that mean to you, and how do you want to improve it as a councilman?
Well, when I first got into this, a ton of people started telling me that they did not know about wind. The meetings weren't either taped, or they're not recorded, or they're not videotaped, and you just really had to dig to find anything out. I'll give the example of wind, because that was one of the passion things that got me to put my name in the till. Most people did not know how far along it was until it was pretty far along, and they were not happy about that, because they did their research before I did my research. I mean, they started researching, and so this is going to affect the health and safety and property values and aesthetic viewscape and all those kind of things in the county. And we had no idea, because all I have to do is one publication. I don't think they have to do the Courier Times and the Knightstown Banner and the Middletown News. All they have to do.
The law is you need one county newspaper, basically.
And usually it's in that fine print in the legal. And unless you're trying to bid on something, your business trying to bid on or a share sale, and you're after a cheap property or whatever, most people don't read those notices. Now you might say, well, they could and they should, but they did not know that the wind was this far along until it was pretty darn far along.
That part's the frustrating part to me when it comes to folks saying, "Hey, I had no idea," because there are. The Courier shows up at all these meetings, and there are stories. Wind was, it was probably 2005, 2006 that we saw that northeastern Henry County was a targeted area, and there were 2 or 3 active projects. The project down in the southern part of the county seemed like generally people were excited, and the Economic Development Corporation and the Planning Commission was fully supportive, and things sailed through. And then the project in the northern part of the county, it seems like that kind of woke people up 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And that I personally, once again, I said there was a meeting probably in Knightstown 5 years ago when they first started talking about the Southern District, and I showed up at that meeting and attended it and said, it's subsidized at every level, and I don't support that necessarily. But that I learned about that one through the Courier Times and the local media, and there were people that were there. I'm shocked at people that say, "Well, nobody told me." How do people
now?
Yeah, of course they have Boss Hog of Liberty, but how do people not pay attention? I just don't understand how they're not plugged in enough to at least have an idea of what county government is doing.
I can speak for myself. I did not know. I was uneducated. Here I am, an educator. I was not educated. I was neutral until I saw it going across, and I did some research. And the problem is the research that is against the health, the livestock, the birds, the property values. Wind turbines haven't been around forever. Most of this research started coming out in Europe and Australia, and maybe California, and more recently Canada, where they had been pretty liberally installed a couple decades ago. Doctors like Nina Pierpoint in Ontario, she started having patients come in. She's a pediatrician and an MD. with these same symptoms, mostly relating to inner ear and sleeplessness and dizziness and grouchiness because of lack of sleep and all this thing. And she started seeing a pattern, and then people started researching and start documenting and putting out articles on this. And a lot of that hadn't come out until the last 5 years, to be quite honest with you. So I think when people started hearing about it and started researching it, then they became more alarmed. I'm not sure the people that are focused, it seems to me, mostly on the money, are taking seriously those bad side effects that I think are scientifically proven and medically proven now. I think because these wind companies go into communities that are cash-strapped, Henry County, with these manufacturers leaving, are needing money. I mean, it's awfully appealing. We're talking millions of dollars being pumped into this community. I just hope and pray we can find a different way to get monies into this than that. There has to be a way that doesn't have all the negative side effects on people and animals and landscape and all those kinds of things, that we can generate money in a more positive way that's not supported by the federal government.
So what are two things that we can do for transparency in the local government?
Well, recording, like you did at the park meeting the other night. I think it doesn't cost that much to put in some equipment that you're recording. I mean, we have that in our board meetings in Newcastle schools. It goes over the internet, and it doesn't take tens or $20,000-$30,000 to do those kind of things, and record them and play them back, have them available on the internet.
Without our, just the two of us, without our microphone, we have about $1,200 wrapped up in the equipment that we take there. Yeah,
you have good equipment. I think you are bass boosted. I think you put up treble on mine. I would like to be Megan Trainor here and have a little bit more bass.
He's all about that bass.
I'm all about that bass. You guys. I think you have the equalizer all bass over there because
it's all neutral. It's just it's pure talent.
If you say so.
We paid for the microphones, so we set them the way we want them.
That's right. Yeah. You make me sound like Tiny Tim.
Go all Ronald Reagan. Yeah, wait till we go to post production. Kenon Gray, 6 inches tall. Everybody,
Mickey Mouse.
He's got tiny hands. Trump said he had tiny hands.
Yes, whatever.
And he ran over Eric with the Buick.
Yeah.
All right. Meeting times. Is the 3 o'clock once a month the right thing to do? Where should that be?
I have to take off work to go to those. I think most people.
You're going to be retired. You're not going to have that problem anymore.
I know, but I'm sure other people have that problem.
I get off work at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
So.
I think as far as time, the commissioner meetings, 6:30 makes more sense. People get home, have a chance to get a bite to eat, and go there. I do not like 3:30 for the council meetings.
So even if it's a different day, you'd say 6 o'clock, 6:30, and make the commissioners come back a second time.
Yeah.
So you'd be right on board with our friend Clay Morgan every year as he puts that forward, a meeting change.
Yeah, and maybe he does. I haven't been following that until I got into. I've been to several meetings since, but yeah, I would be for moving it to. At least 5:36. I think it's silly to have it at 3:30. More people, it'd be more transparent. More people could attend
after normal business hours, at least,
Absolutely.
so people have time to get home from work and take care of what they need to take care of.
Right.
I think 6 would make the most sense. At least.
I think that's one avenue.
So you said that your third highest. We asked you what your top 3 priorities were. You said transparency in government, industrial wind turbines, and number 3. Was a prioritization with limited funding. So the things in our county, obviously we don't have a lot of money coming in our county. We've been talking about that. But what areas of the county, what areas are we spending where you would like to see less, or maybe what areas need more? Yeah. What are your thoughts whenever you say that?
I've been studying that a little bit. That's one of those things I think once you're in and you're seeing how things operate and you're get your feet wet in the system, you'll have a little bit better feel than what I see are numbers on paper, but I don't have all the context to those numbers on paper. Even though I've talked to several people and some commissioners, I'm a quick study, but I'm not there yet because I've only put my name in about 2.5 months ago. I think roads, everyone thinks we could do better with roads. I think the gas tax increase should help us out. I think somebody said we'd be getting $1 million something more because of just the increase in the gas tax that the legislature passed last year, 2017. That'll help. This last session, 2018, there's a House bill I was reading that's 1263 that'll help local counties support jails, replacement of jails, improvement of jails, tearing down jails, and it allows counties to impose a 0.01% to a 0.2%, which would bring in and with a maximum of 20 years. Yeah. And I think that definitely should be looked at because if anyone would not be in favor of maybe a 0.1%, right now we tax at the middle. I looked that up. We're 45 out of 92 counties. We're smack in the middle. We don't overtax. We don't undertax. Now, people would disagree with that we overtax. Everyone would disagree with that our taxes are too high. I understand that.
The rent is too damn high, man.
Well, speaking of rent, I talked to Butch Baker last night it was Rick McCorkle. I've spoken to both of them, actually.
All the sheriffs.
Yeah, I've spoken to all of them. I haven't talked to Kim lately, but you said he's listening, so
He was watching at one point. I don't know if he's still watching. Yeah, people come and go, but we can see him pop in for a second.
He got tired of my wind turbine spiel, I'm sure, my soapbox. But anyway,
that's okay. He can face you in 2 years when you're running for county commissioner.
Yeah. Well, let's get past May 8th first. At any rate, Rick McCorkle said one of the things that kind of hit home to me. He said that they paid $24,000 a year rent for that Mariana building for their offices and the sheriff's department.
Well, that's a brand new lease.
Yeah. Well, at any rate, if we were to tap the monies that are now available through that House Bill 1263, which after the visit to the jail today, I think is imperative. It has to be a priority. And even though they allow like a 0.2% tax for jails, I would say be looking at a 0.1. So it's not an overburden on the taxpayers.
I looked it up. The House Bill 1263, you're right, it does deal with county jails. It passed through the House and the Senate, both, and it does allow counties to adopt a 0.1 or 0.2% tax to go directly to the rehabilitation or building a new correctional facility.
The state legislature has a real good knack for loading the gun, putting it in the hands of the county council, and then letting them pull the trigger.
Yeah. It takes the heat off the state level. Yep. But ever since they put that tax cap in the Constitution, of course that affects the tax rate, but it doesn't affect the valuation. Ours went up 10%. I mean, we got a second mortgage, we refinanced, and they appraised our house for a lot more what it was probably worth.
Well, you made the mistake of giving the county your appraisal. That's confidential information. Yeah. I live in a 3-room shack down in White Estates that doesn't even have good sewers. I was given city councilman. Oh man, we haven't mentioned Darren Jokip yet today, so we'll mention him now. But
I noticed
city
he comes up
councilman
on every
episode.
show.
Yeah, we have to. I saw him today at the barbershop.
He was at the UDC last night too.
Yeah, he gets around, man. Anyway, he does. Token socialist. But I was giving hell to city councilman Aaron Dickin this morning because I got my sewer bill and I used 2 units of water, the tiniest I've ever used. Still a $50 sewer bill, and they're going to raise it next year in January. And I'm going to have the special White Estate surcharge. So I'm going to have like $150 sewer bill.
$2, man.
Just don't get annexed out there.
Because we like low taxes, man. If we get
you're
5
paying
houses
that
away,
now.
No, if I get 5 houses away, the taxes are about 2.5 times what they are living in the county.
I bet they're not mine.
I live in rural.
I live in the county.
I live in Henry Township, not in the city, thankfully. But yeah. Who knows?
Who knows what else you're going to live next to out there?
I mean, that's another thing, man.
Yeah, you're going to ask me about the 143 acres, aren't you?
Light industrial over there in Henry Township. How do we stop this progress?
I like Keith Pritchett. I like him a lot. He's an entrepreneur, and he's doing. I saw him out there this past Sunday.
And nobody knows. It's okay.
No,
either way,
it's Saturday.
You sure?
I came back from Dayton. I came back from Dayton.
Put your hand on the Bible and tell me which day it was.
I swear. I won't tell you what my platform is, but I swear that it was Saturday after we came back from Dayton in the Air Force Museum, which is wonderful.
You couldn't visit the Air Force Museum that's in Indiana. You had to go to Ohio.
No, the one I had to go to the Dayton airport and pick up a camera that I left there. That's another story. You have to read this. And
you have to go to the
read
Facebook
all about
page. Kenon Gray for
the camera
HC
I
Council.
left in Atlanta airport, and somehow the Delta miraculously found it. And I went back to Dayton Airport to pick it up, and we went to the Air Force Museum. But somewhere along the line, we got back, and somebody helped me put up a sign down on 103 South. And I came back, and Keith was out there dredging the ditch deeper so that all the complaints that apparently, and I don't know if you were at that commissioners meeting, that the watershed on that property, half of it goes down to
some go to the
Blue River.
Some goes to Fall
goes
Creek.
to Flat Creek.
It's like the dividing line of the two hemispheres.
Half of that
some of it goes to
property
Columbus and some goes to Shelbyville.
goes through White Estates and it ends up over in the Blue River, and half of it goes
It's Elliott
east.
Run. That's the one we pollute from my neighborhood.
Yeah, it's absolutely right, and it probably wouldn't if you got annexed. But at any rate,
no, the mayor's going to raise my taxes without even me living in the city.
You might as well just bite the bullet and
without
get annexed.
representation. I don't even have a city councilman to complain to.
That sounds like a true libertarian. But anyway, he was out there.
I'm true.
Yes, I
very real.
I know. I've heard you. but at any rate,
taxation is theft, sir.
Yeah, it's without representation is treason. I've heard all that. And Patrick Henry. That came up at the. Yeah. Let's put something out there. Patrick Henry out the park.
Yeah,
I mean, it's what the county's named after. Give me liberty or give me death. So anyway, Keith was out there dredging deeper. Some of the ditches going in, what they said was not taking the rain when we had the 4 or 5 inches of rain. So I think he's a good steward. I think he means well. We do need property to expand. We need something to replace. We're not going to ever get another Chrysler, I don't think. We're not going to get the Honda plant at Greensburg. But I did hear that 2 things that are positive in the area. I heard that we're getting a multi-movie cinemaplex out there by the Y.
You're not in favor of saving the castle? How dare you?
Castle, if they compete, I'm all for them saving the castle. That'd be great.
If they compete,
I think the odds are maybe not great, but they'd have to do some remodeling to compete against stereo and the stadium seating and all that. Yeah. It's ran its course. I remember when they had 5 movie theaters, and I wasn't around when they had 5 movie theaters, but I saw a picture where they had 5. You see it in the castle. You see that picture over there by the men's restroom?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
They had 5 theaters on that map back in the 40s or 50s, 5 movie theaters in this town. So at any rate, the other good news is that Crown is going to make their worldwide headquarters or their national headquarters in Newcastle.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I haven't heard that.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the things at the EDC. Cool. I know they interviewed our principal, the executives. They're interviewing for schools. They want to know which schools, in case they move here, the head cheese honcho. They're interviewing multiple schools around the area for the kids.
I really don't think this community is far from having some actual housing development come in. From having some stick-built, nice developments.
I hope so.
I think the time is. I don't think we're far. I think we're probably one more strong industrial. To create the demand. The house values have been going up significantly, and nicer homes are not staying on the market.
My assessed valuation has.
Oh well, yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah,
you're going to get to decide. If you're on the council, man, you get to decide how much of a raping we all have to take on the property taxes.
Yeah,
and there's some real decisions to be made.
Yeah. I am a fiscal conservative, but I also see there's needs, not just the jail, but
tell me which of the taxes you would lower then as a fiscal conservative, sir.
Well, like I said, we're 1.5 total taxation, and it's right smack in the middle of counties in the state. I don't know. One of the things that we're paying for is what's it called? Tax reduction. There's another name for it. Tax.
Yeah, your property taxes. We somehow through the economic development group, they redistribute some money magically, and then you get some relief on your property taxes.
Yeah.
I don't know the name of it.
It's tax relief of some kind. It's not a high percentage though. And I'm sure the powers to be at the time thought this was a good way. I'm not saying it's good or bad. That's one of those things I think when you get into government and you have a chance to really study, as I said, the context. I'm seeing lots of numbers, and I don't know what went into those numbers quite yet. But over time, I think within 6 months, I'd have a pretty good grasp of that. But I honestly don't right now to be able to tell you that.
I can tell you from my time serving on the park board, the most frustrating experience of my life, by the way, serving on the Henry County Memorial Park Board.
I could tell that the other night.
It was it's not easy.
No.
Very, very frustrating. But 75% of your budget is headcount.
Yeah,
and a lot of it's legacy headcount,
mm-hmm.
and the county struggles with that. And we've made commitments to people that we need to find a way to deal with them long term. We've made commitments, but we've got to find a way to get our costs in the current year from the business side.
Well, you said we had the same budgeted park that we did back in the 90s.
In the 90s, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
but your
who
cost,
does that?
Yeah.
But we don't have the income because we don't have the Chrysler, we don't have the Modern Fold, we don't have all those kinds of things, even Metal Dime.
And the Umbaugh report says that our park budget is going to drop because of the way that the park budget is designed by the state. The health departments and the parks departments are going to take a hit. And in the future, the future of that park is very much in doubt. Is if it's a county park, and how do you actually pay for to have any employees at all? How do you pay for the maintenance out there? And then you got a 300-acre park with a $400,000 budget and a superintendent that's out there and a couple of people, and you got a lot of mowing to do. You've got a lot of utilities.
You get people do it free gratis, and most people won't.
Take some very special people to make that happen.
It would take very special people to make that happen. My understanding from the other night is that came really close to being a state park back in the day.
There are some people. I don't know if there was actually ever an offer on the table, but it was in the 40s. I think it was definitely a gem of the state, and some people talked about wanting it to be a state park.
And I'm just not sure now it's considered a gem, and it's probably because the budget's stagnant in the last 25 years. I mean, if you're going to have it a gym, you're going to have to put some monies into it.
Some parts are a gym. The Saddle Club is phenomenal. It's a absolutely top-notch facility, but that's not controlled by the Memorial Park Board.
No.
And I think there's going to be some.
Butch and his wife pretty much kind of.
Well, Rebecca Baker is the president of the Saddle Club.
Yeah.
So, but Nancy Dietz was involved with it. Casey Gideon was involved with it. Yeah. The late John Jordan was out there for a long time. There have been a number of different people that have led that in their groups, but it's a 501c3 independent organization.
We bought our land from Dietz. He's a nice guy. The plumbing.
Yep.
Plumbing.
Electric. Yeah.
Electric. Yeah.
Yes,
electric Dietz out on west of 38, west of whatever.
So the jail, we'll circle back to that real quick, and then we're probably running out of time. We're running up on the time.
My!
I know, it goes quick, doesn't it?
It does go very. Ed told me it went quick
with no commercial breaks, Dakota. We got to start selling.
We have to start doing.
Well, your first 15 minutes of selling this.
Yeah, shameless self promotion.
Yeah, see that?
Yeah, look at all the signs. The green gray.
See this one?
Mm-hmm. So the county's going to have a proposal come back from the a study. We've paid for yet another study on the jail, and they're going to tell us we need a new jail.
Yeah.
So what do we do to buy a new jail? I guess we raise the income taxes.
Well, that's going to have to be part of it. I mean, you have to prioritize, but that is a sad black mark on the community, and it is uninhabitable. The gentleman showed me around Bachhover, very nice gentleman, well respected. I mean, even the inmates you could tell he developed rapport with some of the inmates. They'd put a lot of improvements. He said you should have seen this 2 years ago. But even with those improvements that he alluded to, it's got to be a priority. Whatever it takes, it has to be a priority. I know we've been sued over, but he said every county's been sued over. But Lawrenceburg's built a new one, like $9 million or something like that. They added on to the other. They own the property across the street. The mayor has said they would close that one street, whatever it is, 12th Street, that one block, and be able to maybe add a new 2-story. I think they can do that within the context of maybe half of that local provision, and then at 1263, we don't have to go for the full 0.2%.
Well, not yet, but once you put that tax in place, then the guy after you will be like, "Oh, well, you need more. We got to double it now."
Yeah, but when I'm commissioner, that won't happen.
Yeah, well, but you won't be in charge of the tax rates then. It'll be the next schlub that comes along and he raises the taxes.
That could be you.
No, I won't be the guy raising the taxes. In 1988, we put in this food and beverage tax that paid for the Hall of Fame.
Uh-huh.
And then About 5 years ago, they realized we're still collecting the money, but we paid for the damn thing, so we got a bunch of money.
Yeah.
So we never got rid of the tax. We spent the money, and we bought it. We built Ivy Tech, and then we keep spending the money. And now every time we award this money, we cause these doughboy fights out at Memorial Park where we've got a little bit of money, and everybody gets pissed about how we're going to spend it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's politics.
So on the jail, when they walked you through, did they give you any numbers as far as the overcrowding, what the majority of people...
it's right now about twice what it was built for.
Yeah.
It was one of the last linear. He said it was out of date when it was built in the late 70s, near 80. One of the very last linear. They do pods now.
Yeah.
And it was out of date before they ever opened it.
Yeah.
I wasn't here at the time. I don't know what the history that went into it, but it's overcrowded. And they moved. There's a transitional one across at a building across the street from it that those that are trying to transition back into regular, back into the neighborhoods and back on the streets.
Yep.
It's a little bit better conditions. So they've split it up about 80 and 90 or something like that, but it was built for 78.
We had a question earlier from Mr. Tom Norris. He was asking about drug abuse. How much do you think local...
I asked that question. In fact, I'm glad you brought it up. I asked that question. I said, what percentage of those that are incarcerated has something to do with drugs? And one person told me 90%.
Wow.
So it's not just here. I mean, we see a little carryover into the schools. I mean, it's a microcosm of the community. You see it in the jails. People get addicted. So mental health and drug addiction, I'd be top. It's not my field, but it's something that somehow the community has to invest in. I know the Hope Community Initiative has been involved in that. I know there's talk at the county level. There's talk at the city level. It's just a hard one to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
But it has to be a priority. I mean, if 90% of our jail incarceration rate relates somehow, I love this, by the way. I saw the lemons in your glass. So apropos.
Well, you sound like Tanner Purdue. Those are limes.
Oh, they're limes. I don't know. I don't put them in. I don't ask for them in restaurants in my tea either. I said, no, hold those because they said they reuse them from glass to glass. I said,
no citrus.
I think it was on 60 Minutes or something like Allegiant Airlines.
Yes. We have one more question here, and this is from Kirsten Kronk, and she's one of our Patreon subscribers.
She goes straight to the front of the line.
Yeah.
Patreon buys your way in.
That's how it works. You can buy your way in. That's true politics.
She wants to know the thought process behind the Facebook polls that you do, and if those are going to have any influence on your...
my warped mind.
By the way, full disclosure, her mother-in-law is also one of our opponents. She's Pat's daughter-in-law.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, that's neat. Well,
it's a small town, man.
They're the kinds of things that I would want to know, or my family would want to know, or when I do these meet and greets, people ask me about. One was like a ride to the polls. Would you need a ride to the poll? And there's not been, I mean, it's not totally unscientific.
Will you pick me up at my house in November and take me for a ride?
No, probably not. Only if you vote for me.
Oh, yeah. I'll vote for you.
Yeah.
You guys can trade votes.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's like Donna Moss on the West Wing.
Yeah.
Trying to find,
absolutely.
I accidentally voted for the other guy.
Yeah. We'll cross each other off at the ballot, voting for each other. No, it's just off the top of my head things that I think. It came up at a campaign meeting that I had with Ed the other night that I think it'd be nice if we offered people a ride to the polls. We can't promise them, but we would try. As of last night, I haven't looked at it today. As of last night, I think there were only one or two people that said, yes, give me a number to call. And I think that'd be kind of a nice
easy
service.
And
Yeah,
are the questions that you ask, your polls, are those going to help influence you if you do make it to the council?
They're not scientific. They just are. They're kind of a pulse. They're kind of a litmus test.
Right.
Not a whole lot, but I don't discount them. I wouldn't put them on there if I wasn't interested. You ever watch the movie on Winston Churchill? I watched that on my 11-hour flight back from Rome 2 weeks ago. Very good.
I don't think so. I don't think I've seen
watch that. The audience should watch that. When he got out of his chauffeur limousine, and they couldn't find him for about 6 hours, and the whole country was worried. This is as they're about to be bombed by Hitler. He's about to go on the air that night saying that he was going to go into negotiations with Hitler. Chamberlain and everybody else in the parliament and the king was saying, we can't win this. You need to basically negotiate with Adolf Hitler. He went off and went into the subway and started talking to the actual people. He only talked to maybe 30 or 40. He went back that night and rewrote his speech and based on what those people in the subway said, which was, should we negotiate with Adolf Hitler? And they started singing never, and it echoed down the whole subway, never, never. And he changed his speech to never and got the whole parliament behind him and the whole British people behind him. And it probably was a change in how the war might have turned out, because Chamberlain was always for negotiating. And there was no negotiating with Adolf Hitler.
We definitely have different styles in our county government. We have people that, Kim's style is he will talk and listen and listen and listen and listen to the point where it annoys everybody in the county because you don't know where Kim stands on something. Mm-hmm. And then you have other people that say, this is what I am and this is what I believe, and they're not really going to change. How do you see yourself if you're on the county council? Do you have certain positions where that this is what you can expect from me and this is what it is, or are you going to be listening and kind of making a decision at the last minute?
No, I think you go on my Facebook page. I will tell you what I think on these different topics, and I've had people recommend to me who've in politics, don't take a stand on the doughboy, don't take a stand on whatever, don't take a stand. And if I talk to people and I myself can rationally believe this is possible or it's doable, I'll take a stand. I want people to know where you stand. I know of other candidates that will not take a stand on the turbines, and I think they should. I think they should take a stand on the jail. I think they should take a stand on the doughboy.
Yeah, they're all important issues in our county.
Yeah. Now, the doughboy is more of an emotional issue for a lot of veterans, and that's what swayed me to just take a stand on it. But I think, like I said earlier, 90% of everything else they're planning out there and all the work they've done, I'm 100% for everything that they're planning out there. I just have respect for the veterans and the war mothers and those who have spoken up against it, that they can come up with something else and maybe a compromise because there's too much emotion behind that one topic.
Anything else for him on the platform side, guys? That we've skipped out on, or we satisfactorily asked all of our questions so we can make an informed decision in May?
I'm good.
All right. Well, if that's the case, then we're probably at final thought. So this is the time for your shameless plugs, sir. How do people give you more money? How do people volunteer for your campaign? How do they put out signs? How do they help your campaign? Who is your campaign manager? How do they help those guys?
I'm my campaign manager. Me and my wife, we are on a shoestring budget. I said about 1/20th of what Butch Baker said he spent the first year in. Gary Rogers is Dickerson Accounting on South 17th, Indiana, and South 17th is my treasurer. As some other candidates that he's doing that for. Good guy, he and his wife. The other movie I would suggest is probably Erin Brockovich. Look at that scene where she gets up and talks to the opposing lawyers from the company that polluted the town of Hinckley. That's where I'm at the wind turbines.
All right.
Yeah, YouTube it. It's on there.
Erin Brockovich is?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Low standards now. You don't have to pay to buy it anymore.
Yeah. Julie Roberts.
Yes, that's right.
It's a good scene. It's PG-13, the language, but it's kind of where I stand on it.
Well, I mean, if you're passionate about something, you can go rated R. We're okay. We call ourselves PG-18 around here. So. All right. So follow you at Kenon Gray.
Yeah,
Kenon Gray on the Twitter.
Yep.
Facebook page, and you can mail checks in if you're still raising money.
I am.
No matter what, you got to be raising money. But you got to be raising money.
I'd like to have money for the maybe the newspapers that last week because I'm pretty much depleted right now.
You got signs all over the place.
Well, I've got signs. That's the last one.
Yep. It's staying in the permanent collection. You're not getting that back. It's a term of your time.
I've taken some up that's got bird poop on it and blown over from the wind. I shouldn't promote the wind around here. There is a lot of wind.
Well, those
mostly in politics. Never mind.
Well, very good. Thank you for hanging out with us, man. It's fun finally getting to meet you.
Yep, likewise.
This will, I'm sure that you'll have the opportunity to share this with people, and we've definitely learned a lot about you. And we're excited that you made the time to hang out with us.
It's my pleasure.
Yes, sir.
It's fun.
Well, good. We try to make it fun. So far, I don't think anybody's left us and gone, I'm never going back there.
Everybody told me that. Just next time, more bass.
Yeah. Wait till we get to post. Mr. Kade Koger.
How we doing?
What we know?
I was kind of going through the comments there, and it seemed like every time I'm on some of these podcasts, especially the people that are opposed to the wind issue, it gets brought up that I'm more on the pro-win side, and so people kind of expect blood when it comes to this.
Well,
and I know
your baby got the blood last week out of you.
Yeah, but before the show, I know you said you didn't want to fight, so we won't fight any. And I don't have to sit here and pretend that you're a bad guy because you're against it, because I completely understand the arguments that are against it, and I do have empathy for people that feel that it's an issue. But I don't have to pretend that you're a bad guy and say bad things about you when I know that you're a great guy. You know, I had you
Try to be
in high school as my vice principal too, and you know, I've known you for a little while, so
right.
I know how that is, and I just feel like when it comes to this, and I've said this before as a county, you know, I'd like to see everybody get better at these disagreements, even with the doughboy and everything else. People really need to sit down and talk, and they need to have these conversations. And I'm glad that we're doing this podcast now, so that candidates that are interviewing for these jobs can come on and, you know, make their claim and state their case, and everybody can be more informed when they go voting for people. And I think that's only going to lead to better leadership within our local government.
Agreed.
So,
yep.
All right, Mr. Davis.
Kade, he kind of stole my final thoughts there a little bit, because, man, we had some seriously nasty things going on in the comment section of our Memorial Park Board live stream, and it sucks. I hate that, because I hate that.
Well,
people,
if you had a better microphone,
they weren't particularly nasty towards us, but it was you know, we've gotten to the point where we're so ready to hate each other over these things, and it's horrible, and I hate seeing it. And so that was
so
pretty
many
much
things,
just hitting the same thing that you were, man. I hate seeing that stuff.
Things just get so polarized, and we live in a time now where technology makes it easy for anyone to get on the internet and say their opinion, and it's still kind of a new thing, and I think people are still learning how to communicate.
Yep.
Especially when it comes to all these different opinions, and I definitely think the more that we can communicate without typing in all capital letters and screaming at each other and throwing things around, I think definitely we can find that middle ground, and we can move forward on issues that we do need to come through. And I know earlier, Kenon, you said you were pro-farmer, and I'm happy to hear that.
Oh, I'm very much. I have the greatest respect. I know, you know, your livelihood depends on if it rains or if it's a drought or and all that kind of stuff. It's
Kate's not a real farmer, but we are pro-farmers.
Well, I remember it well. I'd like to go. In fact, when I retire, I've got a farmer out at our church that I'm going to be working for. I want to get back on a tractor because I've some of the best times of my life.
Mm-hmm. And that's just how that's just how I grew up. That's what I'm used to, and I never want to get away from that. And hopefully, when my kids get older, they can farm as well. So I'm glad to hear that. And I know you're against the wind issue in the county, and like I said, I understand that.
And I'm not against farmers. I respect farmers.
But it just comes down to a lot of people attacking farmers, you know, especially lease signers, and I understand. I understand the disagreement there. I would just like to see everybody be a little more, you know, pro-farmer as far as that goes.
Well, very good. Follow you at The Armed Farmer on all the platforms.
Farmer and Kade Koger just on Facebook.
There we go.
All right. My second piece of final thoughts, of course, is to plug the Patreon account and their redbubble.com. We have great merchandise. We got a lot of good stuff coming your way next week. We're technically, if you're a Patreon subscriber, you have 4 episodes coming to you next week. If you're just a regular fan, then you have 3 episodes next week. It's
Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
That's right. It's going to be a big one. This is the ultimate test of whether or not we like doing this.
We're going to have fun. It's like a hostage situation. I've got Dakota right where I want him. So final shameless self-promotion from my side. Dakota and I we have our first big real speaking gig. The Libertarian State Convention. We were asked by Tim McGuire, the chairman, to speak at their state convention in Indianapolis. So on Saturday morning, May 5th, if you have the paid package, you're going to see us as speakers. Dakota and myself, we're going to talk about our relationships and what the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast has done, and how we've gotten plugged in with county government, county officials, and
how we get people like Kenon to come on here.
How we can have civil conversations and actually talk to people that are serving and have some influence. So we're going to have to give that talk with Danny Lundy. Danny is a candidate for a township board down in Morgan County. And he's been attending a number of public meetings down in his area. So looking forward to that. It's going to be a good time. You don't have to be a libertarian to attend the convention if you want to learn a little something. Going to have some really nice food. It's at the Marriott Hotel, downtown Indy, right at the finish line of the mini marathon. It's going to be packed. Going to be a big time.
Yeah, it's going to be intense.
So I'm looking forward to that one. Really appreciative to all of our co-hosts and guests that have been here. I can't believe we've made it 53 episodes in. I really can't believe that a turkey has more likes than the Boss Hog of Liberty on Facebook, but that's the world we live in today.
I can.
That's all right. We are gaining fast on it. We are gaining fast.
I like the show.
We're glad to be here, and it's definitely a niche that the county has responded well to, and we're excited to be here.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
I like what someone said, maybe Kade and maybe Dakota. I like the disagreeing without being disagreeable. I'm a fan of that.
Yep.
I think that's a good point.
Well, very good. After we get through this candidate series, next week we've got 3 more candidates, and then we're going to do a live show. We'll announce that right now. Our plan is to do a live show election on primary night. So we're going to send Chase Payton. You guys won't know Chase very well. He's a big celebrity. He's on the show. But we're going to send Chase to the Republican headquarters. Yeah, call him Dakota. We're going to send Chase to the Primo and give him a cell phone, and we're going to try to talk to you and anybody else at election night.
I think it'll be a Primo. I think the GOP candidates.
Yeah, you guys are all over there.
Yeah.
So as election results come in, we're going to try to hit people up, and we're going to get results on the show. We're going to do a live show. We'll do call-ins with candidates. And we'll announce the results in the Senate race, the District 6 race, and anything else that's interesting in the news. So we're going to host live. We're going to be like, do you remember Tim Russert? Do you even know Tim Russert at this point?
No idea.
This is sad.
Yeah,
isn't
NBC.
It? Yeah,
he died a few years ago.
Yeah, the late Tim Russert. He had a whiteboard. We're going to give you a whiteboard, and you're going to keep track of things. And
we have a Boss Hog of Liberty whiteboard for sale on redbubble.com.
Maybe we're going to have to order it. We're going to have to get it between now and
we're going to have to buy it
day.
from ourselves.
Gingrich
we might need all
whiteboard.
hands on deck for that one.
Yeah,
that one's going to be busy.
It's going to be a fun night. Maybe we'll send you down there too. We'll work out.
Have you got me a boom mic yet? Is that what we're spending the T-shirt money on?
Yeah,
so I can hold a boom mic at all of the public meetings.
Oh, seriously, I've found one.
Okay,
I found one that goes into the iPad.
I'll do it.
We're gonna
I'll
have
be
some
that
fun.
guy.
All right. So anyway, follow me, Jeremiah Morrell, on Twitter and Facebook, all that junk.
You can interview me if you bring a bass boost mic.
Just
bass boost.
Get low. You got to get low, man. Sure to get low. All right. We'll see y'all next Tuesday night.
Thank you for listening to the Boss Hog of Liberty, which is part of the We Are Libertarians Network. I am Chris Spangle, and I am the founder of this network, and I invite you to listen to all of our shows, which you can find at WeAreLibertarians.com or by searching for these in your podcatcher. The flagship show is the We Are Libertarians podcast, where we apply libertarian principles to current events. The Brian Nichols Show is a conversation amongst Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Independents, as they talk about what is happening in the news. And we have many other podcasts like The Chris Spangle Show, Upward, The Cost, Raw Audio Politics, Miranda's World, and Tad Talk, which is quite a ride. So check all of these out. Go to WeAreLibertarians.com and you can check out all of our great podcasts. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at WeAreLibertarians.com.